My name is Ryan Carter. And the strangest thing my ex-girlfriend ever said to me was this: "Wait, you're actually leaving?" She said it 3 days after dumping me, 3 days after telling me she needed space, 3 days after explaining that she wasn't ready for a serious relationship anymore, 3 days after assuring me that breaking up was the healthiest decision for both of us. The confusion on her face would have been funny if it hadn't cost me 2 years of my life to understand it. Because the truth was simple. When Sophia asked for the breakup, she expected tears. She expected arguments. She expected me to fight for her. What she wasn't prepared for was hearing me say yes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I grew up in a small town outside Nashville. Nothing glamorous, nothing extraordinary. My father owned an auto repair shop. My mother worked at the public library. The kind of people who believed your word mattered more than your wallet. The kind of people who taught me that if someone doesn't want to stay, you don't lock the door. You let them leave. That lesson would become important later. Sophia Bennett entered my life when I was 28. She was beautiful in the kind of way people notice immediately. Not because of her looks alone. Because she knew exactly how to make every room orbit around her. Confident, funny, magnetic. The first 6 months felt effortless. The first year felt serious. By the second year, I thought I was going to marry her. Looking back now, I realize something dangerous happens when you love someone deeply. You start explaining away behavior that would concern you if it belonged to anyone else. The first warning sign arrived disguised as a joke. Sophia loved testing people. Not openly. Subtly. She would disappear for hours after arguments. Ignore texts. Cancel plans. Then return acting completely normal. Whenever I mentioned it, she'd smile. "Relax, you're too sensitive." So I relaxed. When she flirted with attention from other men online, I relaxed. When she started comparing me to more successful boyfriends her friends had, I relaxed. When she began treating my effort like an obligation instead of a gift, I relaxed. One day I realized something disturbing. I was working harder to keep the relationship alive than she was, but by then I was emotionally invested. And emotionally invested people can tolerate an unbelievable amount of nonsense. The breakup happened on a Thursday evening. I remember because I had spent most of that day planning a weekend trip. Nothing extravagant, just a cabin near the mountains. A chance to disconnect, reconnect, maybe talk about our future. Instead, Sophia arrived carrying a different conversation. She sat across from me on my couch. Hands folded. Expression rehearsed. The way people look when they've practiced bad news in a mirror. "We need to talk." Nobody in history has ever enjoyed hearing those words. I set down my coffee. "Okay." She took a deep breath. "I think we need a break." There it was. The sentence. The one she probably spent weeks preparing. I waited. She continued. "I need space. I need to find myself. I don't know who I am anymore." Every breakup cliche arrived exactly on schedule. Then she looked at me, waiting, expecting, hoping. I knew that look. She wanted resistance. She wanted negotiation. She wanted proof of value. What she wanted was a man fighting for her. Instead, I nodded. "Okay." For the first time, she looked surprised. "Okay. Yes." She blinked. "I mean, that's it? What else would there be?" The room changed. Not dramatically, subtly, like someone had adjusted the temperature. "I thought you'd have something to say." I smiled politely. "You said you want to leave." "Yes." "So leave." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not angry. Confused. The conversation wasn't following the script she'd written. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, returned with a small cardboard box. She frowned. "What is that?" "Your things." "What?" "You left some stuff here." For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she laughed nervously. "Ryan, you're being dramatic." "No." I pushed the box gently across the table. "I'm respecting your decision." That was the moment everything changed. Not for me. For her. Because people often mistake access for affection. And Sophia had become accustomed to unlimited access, unlimited attention, unlimited tension, unlimited tension, unlimited chances, unlimited chances. Now, for the first time, she was experiencing a boundary. She left 20 minutes later, still expecting a phone call, Still expecting a text. Still expecting me to chase her. I never did. The first day passed quietly. Then the second. Then the third. On the evening of day 3, my phone rang. Sophia. I stared at the screen, then answered. Hello? Silence. Then, so that's really it. I leaned back. What is? Us. I almost laughed. You ended it. I know that. Another pause. But you ended it? I know that. Another pause. But you didn't even try. There it was. The truth, not the breakup. The expectation behind it. She didn't want freedom. She wanted reassurance. She wanted evidence that she could leave whenever she wanted, and I'd still be standing there waiting. Unfortunately, life doesn't always cooperate with expectations. You said you weren't ready for a relationship. I said I needed space. You got it. Ryan. Her voice softened. I didn't think you'd just accept it. I looked out the window. The city lights blurred against the evening sky. Then I said something that took me 2 years to understand. When someone asks to leave, believing them isn't cruelty. Silence. Long silence. Then she hung up. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. My life got better. Not dramatically. Gradually. I started sleeping through the night again. Started seeing friends more often. Started returning to hobbies I'd abandoned. The strange thing about unhealthy relationships is that you don't realize how exhausted you've become until the pressure disappears. Meanwhile, Sophia kept finding reasons to contact me. A question about a streaming password. A package delivered to my address. A recommendation for a restaurant. Tiny excuses. Tiny openings. Tiny tests. I answered politely, briefly, and then moved on. Every response seemed to frustrate her more. Because I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter, I wasn't begging, I was simply unavailable. Then came the moment that finally explained everything. About a month after the breakup, I ran into one of her friends at a coffee shop. We talked for a few minutes. Then she said something that stopped me cold. You know Sophia thought you'd propose this year, right? I stared at her. What? Her friend immediately looked uncomfortable. Like she'd revealed something she shouldn't have. Never mind. No. Finish that sentence. She sighed. She told everyone you probably propose. I felt my stomach drop. Then why did she leave? Her friend laughed. Not because it was funny. Because she already knew the answer. Ryan, she didn't think you'd let her. The pieces finally clicked together. The mixed signals. The surprise. The confusion. The phone calls. Sophia had never planned on losing the relationship. She planned on controlling it. There is a difference. Some people ask for a breakup because they want to leave. Others ask for a breakup because they want leverage. The problem is that leverage only works if the other person agrees to play. I didn't. 3 months later, Sophia showed up outside my apartment. No warning, no text, just standing there. She looked nervous. The confident woman I remembered seemed smaller somehow. More human. Can we talk? I considered it. Then nodded. We sat across from each other at a nearby cafe. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, she looked down at her coffee. I made a mistake. I didn't answer. I thought. She stopped. Then tried again. I thought you'd fight for me. I smiled sadly. There it is. She looked up. What? The real reason. Tears gathered in her eyes. I just wanted to know how much I mattered. I nodded slowly. Because for the first time, she was being honest. The tragedy was that she'd searched for reassurance in the most destructive way possible. If you wanted to know whether you mattered, I said quietly, you could have asked. She looked away. Neither of us had anything left to argue about. The truth tends to do that. When we stood to leave, she asked the question I already knew was coming. Is there any chance we can start over? I looked at her for a long moment. Then I remembered something my father told me years ago. A relationship should never survive because one person is afraid to lose the other. It should survive because both people choose it every day. Sophia had made her choice. And eventually, so had I. No. A tear rolled down her cheek. I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't angry either. Just certain. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to someone isn't, I love you. It's, I accept your decision. Because the people who truly want to stay rarely test whether you'll stop them from leaving. And the people who leave expecting you to chase them are usually more attached to control than they are to love. Sophia asked for a breakup. I said yes. And in the end, that single word taught both of us something neither of us was ready to learn. Sometimes the person walking away isn't the one who leaves. Sometimes it's the person who finally stops following.